So, today we're going to rethink one of the most common pieces of career advice out there. We're going to take apart this whole idea of following your passion and look at a smarter, more reliable way to actually build a career that feels meaningful. You've heard this a million times, right? At graduations, from well meaning relatives, maybe even in a job interview, follow your passion. It's become this huge career mantra for our generation. And hey, it sounds great. It's simple, it's inspiring, and it sells this dream of a life where your job doesn't even feel like work. But is it? That promise is really powerful, but when you actually start to look at the research, a totally different picture starts to emerge. Could this advice actually be setting us up for frustration, for failure? And could it even be making inequality worse? That's the big question we're going to dive into. Okay, so here's the plan. First, we'll get into the real trouble with this passion principle. Then, we're going to talk about a totally different way to think, the craftsman and growth mindsets. After that, we'll look at the science of what really makes work satisfying. And finally, we'll get super practical with a strategy called job crafting. So, let's get to it. All right, so let's start with the problems. Because while telling someone to follow their passion sounds really positive, sociologists like Aaron Seach have found that it actually has some pretty serious hidden downsides that can mess with our careers and even our happiness. So, this advice creates a few big problems. For one, it can make you needlessly narrow your options, right? You might ignore a really great career path just because it wasn't a pre existing hobby. It also kind of suggests that passion is the only thing you need to be happy at work, which just isn't true. And here's where it gets a little dark. It can be used to justify overwork and even reinforce inequality, because this whole journey to find your passion usually assumes you have a financial safety net that, let's be real, a lot of people just don't have. And this advice doesn't land the same way for everyone. Research is showing that it can actually push people back into old school gender stereotypes when it comes to the careers they choose. Yeah, just take a look at this chart. When people were prompted to follow their passion, the gender gap in the types of careers they chose was huge. But when they were asked to focus on practical things, like pay and job security, that gap pretty much disappeared. It just goes to show you that this passion advice has real, tangible consequences out in the world. And this might be the most dangerous part of the passion principle. This quote from a 2020 study really hits hard. It shows how some employers can basically use your passion against you to justify things like low pay or crazy hours. The logic is twisted, right? It's like, if you really love it, you shouldn't mind the sacrifice. Okay, so if follow your passion is flawed, maybe even a trap, then what's the alternative? Well, the answer isn't some other simple slogan. It's about shifting your entire mindset, moving away from finding passion and towards building it. Let's talk about the craftsman and growth mindsets. The whole foundation for this idea comes from the amazing work of Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck. Her research on what she calls the growth mindset is a total game changer. It's this core belief that your talents and abilities aren't set in stone. They aren't fixed. Instead, they're things you can grow and develop through effort and learning. So let's see how these two mindsets stack up. The passion mindset is really a fixed mindset. It's all about finding that one special thing. It's always asking, what can the world offer me? But the crafts mindset, which is all about growth, flips that question completely. It asks, what can I offer the world? See the difference? With this mindset, passion isn't the starting line. It's the finish line. It's the feeling you get after you've put in the work to become truly good at something that's valuable. Failure isn't a disaster. It's just data. It's a chance to learn. And Carol Dweck herself says it perfectly. The real passion, the deep, lasting kind, comes from the process of growing. It's that drive to push yourself, to stick with something even when it gets tough. That's where true satisfaction is born, not in some sudden lightning bolt of inspiration about your one true calling. So, if it's not about finding some pre-packaged passion, then what does make work feel satisfying and meaningful? Well, luckily, we don't have to guess. There's a ton of great scientific research that gives us a really clear answer. So let's look at the actual psychological building blocks of a great career. And that research points to three fundamental human needs. It comes from a framework called self-determination theory, and it basically says that all of us, no matter who we are, have these three innate psychological needs. And when our jobs meet these needs, that's when we feel truly motivated, engaged, and like what we do actually matters. The first one is autonomy. This is simply the need to feel like you're in the driver's seat of your own life. It's that feeling of having some control and choice over what you do and how you do it, not like you're just a cog in a machine. This is absolutely critical for feeling invested in your work. Number 2 is competence, and this connects right back to that craftsman mindset we were just talking about. We all have this deep need to feel like we're good at what we do, to feel effective and capable. Getting better at your job, mastering skills, that is an incredibly powerful driver. It builds confidence, and honestly, it often creates the very feeling of passion we were searching for all along. And finally, number 3 is relatedness. Look, we're social animals. We need to feel connected to other people. We need to feel like we're part of a team, part of something bigger than ourselves. You could have a job that looks perfect on paper, but if you feel totally isolated, it is never, ever going to feel truly fulfilling. Okay, so we've debunked the myth, we've looked at the real science of motivation. Now we get to the most important part. How do you actually put all of this into practice? Let's talk about a really cool and practical strategy called job crafting. Job crafting is this awesome idea that you don't have to just accept your job description as is. You can be an active architect of your own role. It's all about making these small, intentional changes to your job to make it a better fit for your strengths, your values, and yeah, your passions as they start to develop over time. And it breaks down into 3 main types, which makes it pretty easy to think about. First, you've got task crafting. Maybe you volunteer for a project that'll teach you a new skill, or you find a way to make a boring task more efficient. Then there's relational crafting. This is about changing your interactions. Maybe you decide to mentor a new hire, or you spend more time with colleagues who inspire you. And third, there's cognitive crafting. This one is all about changing how you think about your work. And this is maybe the most powerful insight of all. When researchers looked at all 3 types of crafting, they found that cognitive crafting, just changing your perspective to see how your daily tasks connect to a bigger purpose, had the strongest and most direct link to feeling like your work is meaningful. It's an amazing reminder that our own mindset is often our most powerful tool. Whew, we have covered a lot of ground. We've seen how that old advice, that simple little phrase, isn't just unhelpful, it can actually be kind of harmful. It sends us on this wild goose chase for a feeling, when we should be busy building a solid foundation of skill, of autonomy, and of connection. So let's just agree to throw out the old passion question. A much better, more powerful, and way more practical question to ask yourself is this one. It's not about some grand abstract discovery. It's about small, concrete actions you can take starting right now. It puts you back in control. So go on, craft a career you can truly love.